Okay, again, we're having some problems with the videos. So I'm going to start over again, and we're going to try to stop doing things to the computer, NASA people, okay, that aren't funny. All right, you got to come up with some other way to be funny than these computer things that you're doing, the interruptions and stuff, okay? Where you used to always be able to hit the screen and the thing would pop up so you can see it, not it stops the video from recording. Okay, so that's a new thing that you just started doing. Um, this Brianna DeJesus is not happy with her Teen Mom 2 co-stars, Caitlin Lowry and Javi Maracan. Okay, I'm not going to read the story um, 10 times trying to figure it all out because it's a topic discussed anyway. And sometimes when you're not familiar with the social group, you can't really keep track of it unless you have it written down. I mean, it's going to take you a while to understand what people are talking about when your life is sort of complicated. Um, why were you watching the podcast? Just don't watch it. Don't watch it then. Okay? Because you cannot tell people that they can't talk about something. That's a struggle with some people. I understand because it keeps coming up with people. It's some sort of odd, distorted idea that people can't talk about you. Okay, um, did the person text you with this podcast like they're forcing you to watch it? Okay, did they put you in a room and then start playing it on the TV? Okay, if they did, what people, the person doing the podcast or some other people? Because if it's some other people, those would be the people abusing you, whether they are doing it intentionally or not. Sometimes people do that stuff because they actually agree with what the person's saying, but they don't have the balls to say it, so they're doing it so you'll listen to it. Um, you just simply say that you're not interested in anything that person or those people have to say about you, and that's it. You honest to God cannot tell people that they can't talk about you. Um, that's not harassment because you'd have no way of knowing what they're saying. Okay, it's called free speech. Um, so that's one thing. And the other thing, too, is I would recommend not having any contact with those people on the podcast. So either you want to have a relationship with them and you're hurt by the things they're saying, or you're irrational. Okay, it's one or the other because why would you even be mad about what the people, why would you even care? Okay, again, I I wouldn't even know what people are saying about me. Okay, because I don't go looking for it. And I currently don't have anyone coming and saying so and so said this and that. And so I had a Donna with the glasses, the psychopath, that would come and tell me stuff that Jen was saying about me. But I don't have that anymore in my life, thank God, because that's abuse. Um, and the other thing, too, when people do that, they're reporting not even a podcast what the person's actually saying, but they're reporting what someone said about you. You have no idea. Because, number one, I don't even talk to Jen. So someone could come and tell me anything about Jen, and I wouldn't even know the difference because I don't talk to her. And if you don't talk to someone, who cares what they're saying? Like, why would that even matter to you? Um, so in situations like this, where exes, this could be another topic, by the way, don't have any children, they need to just stop talking to each other. They shouldn't even have any contact. She shouldn't even know anything about some new girlfriend that he has. That shouldn't even be a part of her life whatsoever. Like, that's a form of dysfunction. Like that Jen and her wife, how they don't have any children together. They had a 21-day or a 20-day marriage, and they're still wicked intermingled in each other's business and lives. That's complete dysfunction. That's not a healthy people at all, having healthy relationships with anyone, not even friendships. um, so you definitely, whether or not, sometimes we have thoughts that are distorted so that we have to be told that it's incorrect. Okay, like, there's no reason to be keeping contact with an ex of yours. The only reason why people keep contact with exes is if they have children, because they have to do it for the sake of the children. Now, even that sometimes has to be severed, There are people who actually, in a selfless act, don't have contact with their children because they won't take part in this. And their ex is so dysfunctional that they won't stop it. So in order to protect their children, they bow out of it, and they go, I'm not getting involved in this. Like, you're getting DCF injected into the children's lives. Are you kidding me? I'm out. I can see the writing on the wall. Almighty God is indicating to me how dangerous you are. And this stuff with the using the children as pawns, and waiting to like come up here, and then you're like sending me legal papers and trying to get me to come down there or react to you. You're still hung up on me, and you're still trying to control me. And that's totally what's going on with Jen and her wife with this divorce that should not be taking a year. Does not take a year to get a divorce in the state of Massachusetts, in particular when it's a marriage that was a joke and it should have been annulled. Um, I would like to see presented to us any judge in Massachusetts that actually told these people that it was going to take a year to get a divorce of a 20-day marriage. Okay? And then you've got the wife who's got 3 boyfriends herself. And then you've got the other wife who has a girlfriend, and all this is going on. I mean, that is not a marriage. I don't know if it was a high drunken mistake, or they were in manic episodes and they didn't know what they were doing. They were in a psychosis. Because they're not gonna lose they're not gonna lose no sleep up all night. They got a plan. The song is about a person who's manic and isn't rational to be making those types of life choices, and the fact that they were broken up, and then like 2 days later they're getting married, and then they're partying and drinking, and I'm assuming drug use was involved. That's not a marriage. That's definitely grounds for an annulment, and it doesn't take a year. So we're doing the playing the games where we're avoiding the process server, and we're lying, and we're saying it's because we don't want to go to court because we have outstanding warrants. Then we get arrested, and that shows that if you had outstanding warrants, you would have gone to prison. You wouldn't be back in the streets of Quincy. So none of that is true. It's all a bunch of lies, but with 2 women that are highly, highly dysfunctional. Okay? So if you ever meet someone, okay, this is definitely a lesson learned, even though I said it. Sometimes it still happens to you because it's sometimes difficult to, in a state of hormones or loneliness or whatever, to actually carry out your own plan that you know is correct. It can happen to people, okay? Usually you end up out of it quickly, like I did, because you're not actually just that dysfunctional. You kind of can see that this is not right, that this is sick, right? Is if you meet someone and they're not divorced, okay, just say, okay, I'm not even coming near this. Contact me when you're divorced. Okay? Like, don't even engage in courting people that are not divorced. Just say, contact me when you're divorced. Okay? Especially something like that situation where they're still both talking to each other, they're playing ridiculous sick games with each other, they're still fooling around, they're sleeping with other people trying to get each other jealous. It's very, very sickening. So if you meet someone and they're not divorced and they're still in a contact like that with their ex, just run the other direction. Because even them getting divorced is 90 days isn't going to solve that type of dysfunction. As much as I personally wouldn't think it was, I would hope that her wife and that young man would be happy. There's no way that relationship's going to work. And I'm sure that's probably pretty upsetting for at least her, that relationship isn't going to work either, because she's not going to be able to have a relationship until she has a year of sobriety, actual sobriety. And after that year of actual sobriety, she's not going to want to be with that young man. Okay? She's not going to want to be with Jen. She's not going to want to be with these other men that she's been with. She's going to want to leave all of that in her past, because it's going to feel like a horrible mistake to her. She's not going to maintain those feelings. She's not going to maintain those connections. She's not going to maintain those I said connections, that type of feelings anymore. She'll see it for what it is. And if she's lucky, she'll probably take more than a year, and then she'll get even more well. And part of her definite recovery process is going to be avoiding relationships for a while. That particular person, Jen's wife, because she's way too dependent. She's way too dependent, and her entire life revolves around trying to have romantic relationships, and she's way too needy. I can see Jen sort of in the same way, because she goes from really bed hopping and not even really relationships, but I think in her mind she thinks they're relationships. She just goes like bed hopping to bed hopping to bed hopping. Like she cannot go a period of time without having a sexual partner. So that's quite sad, and I find it to be even sadder when you're in a sober state, and she claims to be in a sober state doing that. Whereas her wife may only be doing that because she's intoxicated all of the time. When I was drinking alcohol, all right, that's not going to happen. I was looking for yeah, tie. When I was using alcohol, I was doing some sleeping around too. And that's not something that I would do in my sober state. Okay. So I think with Jen, it's actually worse because she's supposedly sober and she's still that dependent, still doing that. So she's not even sort of like making the connection in her mind that she needs to stay away from these quote unquote relationships, which are not relationships at all. So this particular story also seems to touch on some of that, that maybe some of these people are having a little bit of an issue with mania and drama, that they have to have that sort of excitement that's exciting to them in their lives, whereas other people find that upsetting. They find those types of things upsetting. They don't like it. It makes them have anxiety. They have panic attacks. It makes them very unhappy. It doesn't make them happy. That's not the type of relationship that I want. And healthy of mind people are not boring to me, whereas I know from testimony from someone with mania that healthy of mind people seem boring to them because they're dysfunctional, the person themselves. And they're feeding on almost like a violence. They're feeding on like a fear. They're feeding on something has happened where in their environment growing up, probably there, it's usually when you're growing up, that that was there was a constant level of agitation. There was a constant negative elation going on in the household. And so that seemed normal. And then if there was then ever any calm, quiet times, that was upsetting to the people who were ill with mania. So that mania had to be keep generating and generating and generating. And so those people, like Jen, maybe her wife, and other people that I've observed and got testimony from, that is what they're doing. And that's not what a healthy adult sexual relationship is in a love relationship. Love is a very calming, pleasant feeling. It's not that rush excitement where you're actually in a flight, or fight situation with your anxiety and PTSD and adrenaline. That's not love. Okay, it's actually not exciting. It's just that they've become accustomed to that. And they may have a lot of fear about actual caring and love feelings, and that's why when it's calm, they don't like it. Some of that could come from some sort of childhood sexual abuse, where anything that's like that, that's like the time that you're getting abused, and that's why you don't like it. Or that just you have so much sadness and sorrow in your life that when things are calm, it feels like an agitation, and sometimes it feels like a rage when you just need to break down and cry because you're sad. this is how you wouldn't be able to explain this to Jennifer, but her wife would hopefully understand this because she's has children. When you nurse a child, that is what a love feeling is. It's a very sort of like relaxing, calm, comfortable, peaceful, secure feeling, and a feeling of warmth. It's not that agitated and fighting, and that's not what love is. And people that have that mania and agitation and dysfunction cannot actually love people because they fear it so much, and they will do just about anything to avoid that, to avoid those types of feelings. They could have some sort of like a self-destruct button. Once you sort of realize you're doing that, that's a really good step in your recovery. If you can comprehend that you do it and you know you do it, as opposed to you're still at a point where you're not understanding that you are choosing these people, you're generating drama, and you're doing these breakups and things on purpose. Okay? Once you can get to a point where you're not thinking that you're just failing at relationships and how do you keep on going out with these effed up people and stuff. Once you can get to a point where you know that you are purposely destroying relationships, then that's a very good step in your recovery. And hopefully you would know at that point that you need to take a break. I explained some of this to Philip in email form because I'm sort of notorious for writing long-winded emails, which is a letter that you mail electronically. That's why it's called an email, an electronic mail. And where I was discussing the thing about the self-destruct, and I can't be in a relationship right now because I'm going through this divorce, and I've been in this relationship for 20 years. I have 6 children with this person. So I'm sort of like in a process of ending a chapter in my life, and I need to take time to figure myself out. And, thank God for having that to be able to communicate that to me. And then I sort of am putting it in writing to someone else because had I not sort of known that, God knows what would have happened. I would not be in a point of recovery that I'm in now. So I think it's like an alcoholic. If you say Jennifer, for example, okay, and another person who I'm not going to name, not her wife, I'm talking about someone else. If you say, okay, that's it, I'm done. I've heard I'm done with men, I'm not going to date anymore. I've heard that numerous times from Jennifer that she's done. She's not going to go out with anybody for a while. She's going to do a year. She's not going to date anyone for a year. And within days, she's hitting on someone, or she's actually engaged in something. So she should be able to determine that she doesn't have the ability to do that, and she needs to seek out help. That there's something not right there, that she's not in control of herself, just like an alcoholic is not in control of themselves. Because unless she was in a manic episode when she decided that she wasn't going to date anyone for a year and then did it anyway, she's a sexaholic. She's a sexaholic. Has love addiction. She's addicted to relationships. She has mania. She can't control herself. She sets plans and can't stick to them because something's going on. That is, she's not in control of her own thoughts and decisions. And that's kind of what mental hospitals are for. And some people actually like them. I mean, there's people trying to get into them because they want a break for a week. So that's not something that she should be fearing. And in written form, I told her that probably about a year ago, maybe a little bit less than a year ago, was it? After I left there in 2016. And I think I said it again when this thing happened with her soon-to-be ex-wife, that if she actually cared about anyone, even herself, that she would go back into the hospital. It doesn't matter how many times she's been there. If she's never been there with the admittance that she's out of control, that she has mania, and that she keeps setting plans and she can't do it and she needs help. If she's saying she's not going to gamble her money away and then she's going and gambling it away, again, she needs help. Sometimes we need help in life. And not thinking that emotional problems and mental illness are some sort of a character fault. And to get over this fear that she has of accepting that something's not right. Um, People can get over mania. There's an entire program that Jen was introduced to in May and June of 2016. She knows what it is. So even if she tried the program and she can't stick to it, she needs extra help. She needs to seek out people to help her, and not people that are reinforcing her behavior by ganging up on me and saying that I'm just bitter and this and that. I mean, some of these things she knows, and I'm sure anyone who's her actual friend knows that she's doing these things, and it's not just I'm bitter about it. Um, Things like that. So it's not always just someone is using and they need to go to a detox. Sometimes people need to go to a hospital because they keep saying that they're going to move out of the bills on September 1st, October 1st, November 1st, February 1st. And it's like, are you just making plans because you think you're supposed to say that, or you're actually thinking you're going to do it and then something happens and you can't do it? Those things happen. That's why you seek out people to help you. Um, and those people are not going to be like me, where I'm to have all this animosity towards you, because they're trained to not be doing that. And they have compassion towards people, we would hope and pray, and they're not the social worker. It's Orlando Regional Medical Center, where they're actually trained and they're supposed to have compassion for people. Um, and then sort of like they will help you stick to a plan. Um, and if it's some, like I said, because I know she said this to me, that she's been in hospitals before and she's done all this. And if you're at the point of admitting that it's not just your mother and it's not your sister, that there's something actually wrong, then you're at a different point than you've been before. So you haven't done all that before. And I think that if you had done all that before, you would have mentioned it when I said the thing about not talking and writing everything down, that you would have said, oh, yeah, I've done that. I did that. I did that program where I wrote all my thoughts down and it didn't work. She never said that, so she didn't do it. Um, and I think when you're regressing into smoking pot with your wife, when a year before that, you were less than a year before that, you were absolutely adamant about not liking drug use. So now you're doing things that are completely out of your character, or you're a pathological liar, or both. Okay, so that's when I think that people need to sometimes really bite the bullet and ask for help, and not be afraid that you're going to just be locked up somewhere. As far as I know with the voluntary, I mean, I'm sure there's exceptions, but as far as I know with the voluntary, it's a voluntary. You're voluntarily doing it, and you can sign yourself out anytime you want, but they delay it. I think you have to do it by a week, because sometimes people with mania will just be insistent. And then, so it's like you're even given that week to sort of think about it, if that's really what you want to do. And are you going to go right back to the situation you were in, or you're going to do something different? Um, Something like that. Um, I think also surrounding yourself with people who don't. I think that maybe her wife believes in things like that, because her wife has been to detox a few times, but her wife is not good with sticking with it. I think that she goes in and then she wants to just get out, because that's going to be typical of someone who uses, because she doesn't want to be sober. Um, so that kind of makes a bit more sense than just straight out mania. Um, that would be up to medical professionals wherever she went in terms of medication. Um, I personally don't believe in medication, but you have to have the right sort of environment Some people have to live in like a Zen monastery their entire lives because you just have to accept that they're not going to be able to live in the world. Um, and the stresses of life will throw them into these manic things periodically. Um, some people just, I don't know if it's just years and years and years and years of non-compliance, but some people just can't stop falling back into a pattern. Like some of these hoarders and things, they need to just be in a different type of living environment, but that has to be by choice. And the reason why I say that is because you can have an instance where it's like the person really should have been found to be mentally incompetent and not able to make those choices for themselves anymore. But once you sort of do that, it becomes a slippery slope, which none of us want. So I always think that people should be given freedom to do the things they want, and hopefully have some people that are good friends of theirs um, give some advice. And it's difficult with someone like Jennifer because it seems like so far, unless something has changed since what, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, she has not been able to find anyone in her life that she trusts is not lying to her, because that's part of her paranoia. And she goes and looks for it because she's afraid of even having almost friendships, I think, too. She's afraid of even having that type of a caring connection with the person. So she goes looking for some way the person lied
Gotta make another comeback.
as an excuse why she's not going to form, she's not going to be open with them, and she's not going to form that kind of a friendship with them. So it's unfortunate when someone has that, where they don't have anyone that they trust that's like, look, I wouldn't lie to you about something's not right with you thinking. Like, you sound paranoid, you sound like you have distorted thoughts. Um, why not just go get checked out and see what's going on? Sometimes people have something wrong with their brain. It's not like some fault within your own, or they just get so stressed out, like you're strung out on drugs almost, and you're just like, you're a stress ball and things like that. Like, sometimes we just need that type of support. You've been through a lot in your life. You don't lie, but if that's the case for that person, you've been through a lot in your life and stuff like that. So it's a saving grace when a person has someone that they actually go, all right, well, this sucks because I really don't think this person would lie to me. So maybe I should get this checked out. But like I said, I think I put on her, not her, I put it on my Facebook or something about if she really cared about someone, that's what she would do. She would check herself into a hospital and begin, just to find out if everything's all right. Because if you supposedly were in this relationship with the person and all this, like, how did all of that even happen? Like, how did that situation even happen? And I think when she say she had a friend at the shelter and they were aware of the conversations that she had with me, and then they were aware of the conversations that she had with her wife like a week later, someone like that could be like, Jen, something's not right. um, Even say that you're like some sort of a dog and you're like a sexual offender or whatever. It's like, you just said all this stuff to Mary, and now you're saying the exact same stuff to your wife. Like, what's going on? Are you having some kind of mental confusion, or, things like that? Like, why did you ask Mary about her digestive problem when it's your wife that supposedly has a digestive problem? Um, did you actually not know when Mary's birthday was, or you forgot? Did you actually not know how old she was, or did you forget? Um, did you not actually know what your wife's last name was? Or you forgot? Because on the thing that she showed me, she even admitted it. That it was like she didn't know her wife's last name that she married. She had to like white it out on the thing that she filed for divorce. Um, and then when I had to contact the police, and the police asked her a couple of questions, I think they asked her what her wife's birthday was and stuff, and she unless she gave them the wrong date, she remembered that because I was standing there. And I don't know her wife's birthday, so whether or not that was correct or not. But it's kind of. And then she became very paranoid. And she thought that the cop said something he didn't say because she told me. So she's having, what do they call that? Auditory distortions or something. She's having that. And she's having memory issues. So that's just something to get checked out to find out, is she not sleeping, like what's causing that, or if she's having some kind of issue with her brain. But like some of these things with the mania that I was trying to explain, it's definitely, from what I can tell, I mean, I don't have hundreds of people that I've interviewed and observed, but from what I can tell, it's very indicative of the disorder, that they don't think that there's anything wrong with them, even though they're in such a high level of stress and mania and agitation. They still don't think there's anything wrong with them, and they can be very no, argumentative. There we go. They can be very argumentative, and a little bit hostile, and and like that, and that's kind of what I've seen. Like sometimes it's to the point where you're kind of like afraid because they seem, quote unquote wacko. And when someone's actually that sort of ill in a mania, it is a little bit frightening. You're kind of like, you know, whoa, the crazy person or whatever. I saw some of that with Jen's wife, but it sort of came out in a different way, how she was being like wickedly overtly sexual. Um, so that's pretty much all I'm going to say. I went way off the thing on the topic discussed, but in terms of, sometimes you got these people that get into these wicked dysfunctional toxic back and forth. It could be because they're having issues with mania. In the way that the world is right now, almost everyone's having issues with anxiety and some degree of mania. So there's not really a reason for people to be ashamed or judging themselves or thinking, it's a character flaw because you're overwhelmed. Okay, it's there's a lot of people that are overwhelmed, and people handle things differently. I mean, I've talked to like at least 10 people who all say they're having high blood pressure and they're on these medications, and it's not even bringing it down because they're internalizing all of that. That's sort of what I do. I more internalize things, and my blood pressure goes up and I get physical symptoms. um, I've got to be, it can happen, but I've got to be really, really agitated. I've got to have a lot of stuff going on for me to be like, just everyone's a cunt, and da, 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 da. And it's usually if I keep talking about it and thinking about it. It's almost like if something's agitating you, then it's like you got to try to just focus on something else and talk about something else. But some people can't just do that, and that's why they need help. That's why they go to a facility that's nice and calm and relaxing, and they can sleep, and they can, uh, talk to people about what they're gonna do and things like that. And those people know certain tools like the Mandela art and all those things. They know how to help people calm down. Okay. Like the yoga and writing and standing poses and listening to music and things like that. Excuse me. And the sing along musics and the art therapy, and I'm sure they have other things too that are sort of like um, depending on your degree. I don't know the unit I was in didn't seem to have anybody that was I found to be that off the charts. There was a little bit of yelling. Someone was clearly having a panic attack, in my opinion. I don't know if everybody felt it, but I sure as heck did. And it's definitely understood why that person was so upset, because that was a horrific experience. There was some pacers. There was some people doing some pacing. Sometimes, believe it or not, it's really difficult for people to just break down. It's people just don't want to do it. They don't want to just break down and let it go. I don't know what it is. It's just we sometimes don't want to do that, and that really is sort of like the answer to that. And then you've got to have some sort of coping mechanisms to help you improve your mood, because there's a fear. I used to call it Pandora's box, where there's a fear that if you even open that a little tiny bit, that you'll never stop crying. I remember that fear before I started entering like actual serious recovery, that there is that fear that you'll never stop crying, but you will. So I guess that's that on that. It started going into like it's sort of other topics, but it's not. I mean, we're all sort of in this really wounded state right now, because of it's been a long 10 years that we've all been through, and so that's just something that has to happen and has to give. So I guess that'll be that for that one, and then we'll see what the other topics are.